Hello everybody, it's Ronnie with Whip and Chain. I work with Maggie and Lauren to bring you fun, beautiful crochet tutorials. Today, this is a good one. This is mittens. These can be made. I have the whole video is from 1-year-old all the way up to adult. So you do not have to do the connecting chain. You can just do the mittens. But the nice thing is this is all one piece. There's no little piece here, little piece there. It's all one piece, and then you slip stitch it around. It's easy, and it's a fun pattern. So let's dive right into this. Okay, to get started on these gloves, couple things going on here. I'm actually using Hobby Lobby yarn. It's just acrylic. I'm just happen to use pink neon. That's the color that I chose. But to make gloves, you can make them in wool. That does keep them a little warmer. I just didn't have the yarn that I preferred, but this is fine. Also, I'm going to strongly suggest you need stitch markers for this. You do. And I'm using a 4mm crochet hook. You need the stitches to be on the smaller side for this because they're gloves. You don't want the big gaping holes in them. All right, now I'm going to go over very slowly as we go. You can make these in children's, kids 1 to 2, all the way up to adults. All right, and I am going to make the child's version, but if you're going to do the child's version, you need to chain 55. If you're going to do range from 3 to 4 years old, you need to chain 65. If you're doing 5 to 7, I need you to chain 71. If you're doing 8 to 10, chain 79. If you're doing a teenager, 11, 12, 13, teenager, chain 85. An adult, you chain 89. So again, it's 1 to 2 is chain 55, 3 to 4, 65. Ages 5 to 7, 71. Ages 8 to 10, 79. Teenager, 85. Adult, 89. Now I am going to chain my 55 and I'll be right back. Okay, I got my chain of 55 right here. Now, working down the chain, I am going to strongly suggest you work in the back horizontal loops because of slip stitching this glove together. It's going to be very hard to find your stitches. Okay. Now, second chain from the hook, if you're doing the 1 to 2, we're going to do 8 single crochets. If you're doing ages 3 to 4, you're going to do 10 single crochets. If you're doing ages 5 to 7, you do 11 single crochets. Ages 8 to 10, do 12 single crochets. A teen, 12 single crochets. An adult, 12 single crochets. Okay? So I'm doing 1 to 2, so I'm going to do 8 single crochets. So second chain from the hook, 1, 2, and I'm going to do 8 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Now again, you do your numbers that I said for your age groups, okay? Now, after your 8 or whatever number age bracket you're doing, if you're doing a child 1 to 2, we're going to always do 4 slip stitches. But every other age, 3 to 4, 5 to 7, 8 to 10, teenager and adult, I need you to do 6 slip stitches. So only ages 1 to 2 will do 4. The rest you're going to always do 6. So now, you do not want your slip stitches really, really tight because we're going to have to keep working in them. But don't make them really loose because you'll have big gaps in them. But try to find your happy medium. So I'm doing 1 to 2, so I'm going to do 4 slip stitches. So this is 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now before I go any further, now's the time you mark your slip stitch, the last one, because when we come back you want to know the first one. Okay, so now we're on a single crochet again, and here's the numbers. If you're doing ages 1 to 2, we're on a single crochet 13. If you're doing ages 3 to 4, I want you to single crochet 14. If you're doing ages 5 to 7, single crochet 16. If you're doing ages 8 to 10, single crochet 19. If you're doing a teenager, single crochet 22. If you're doing adult, single crochet 24. Okay? All right. So I'm going to do 13. And here's my 13th. Now for all sizes, it doesn't matter what size, this is where you put in 4 slip stitches. Everybody does 4, okay? So here we go. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now again, this is where you want to put in your stitch marker. Okay. Now we're going to do the single crochet. So whatever number you did over here, we're going to do on the other side. So again, if it's ages 1 to 2, you'll do 13 single crochets. Ages 3 to 4, you'll do 14 single crochets. Ages 5 to 7, you'll do 16 single crochets. Ages 8 to 10, you'll do 19 single crochets. Teenager, you do 22 single crochets. And adult, you do 24. So I'm going to do 13. Let me do 13 and I'll meet you right back. Okay. Now we're going to do our slip stitches. So how many you did in the beginning, is how many we're going to do here. So again, it's for ages 1 and 2, it's only 4, but for every other age, it's 6 slip stitches. So let's do, I'm doing 4. One. Remember, don't make them too tight. 2, 3, and 4. And right here, please put in your stitch marker. Okay. Now we're going to single crochet the last. So whatever you did on this side, 1 to 2, 8 single crochets, ages 3 to 4, 10 single crochets, ages 5 to 7, you'll do 11 single crochets, ages 8 to 10, you do 12, teenager, you'll do 12, and adult, you'll do 12. All 12, 8 to 10, teen and adult single crochets. All right, let me do my last single crochets. Okay. Now I did, and you got row 1 done. Now all you're going to do is chain 1, go into the first full single crochet, do a whole single crochet, but the rest of them you're going to match stitch for stitch, back loop only. So you should have, I should have 8, whatever your number count should be, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Now the nice thing is where your stitch marker starts, these are the slip stitches. Okay, so I have 4. I think all my slip stitches, if I go back, all my slip stitches happen to be 4s, but people that are doing larger sizes, remember your outside ones are going to be 6s, but your one here in the middle will be 4. So then what you do is you take your stitch marker out, and then I'm going to do my 4 slip stitches. So that's 1, 2, 3, and 4. And before I do anything else, my last one, I'm going to put my stitch marker in. That way I can find it when I return. And then I'm going to just do my back loop single crochets to my next section for slip stitches. Okay, and then back and over. And it's always back loop, even in the slip stitches, except for the very first and the very last stitch. They will always be a full single crochet, both loops. So now here, let's go over, this is row 2 you're working on. If you're doing ages 1 to 2, repeat this 9 times. So you're already on row 2. Remember that. If you're doing ages 3 to 4, repeat it 10 times. If you're doing ages 5 to 7, repeat it 11 times. Doing ages 8 to 10, repeat it 12 times. Teenager, repeat it 13 times. And if you're doing adult, repeat it 14 times. But please, it's really, really important. Use your stitch markers. Use your stitch markers. And then I'm gonna, don't cut off. We don't cut off at all until we're doing seaming. So do your repeated number rows. Again, ages 1 to 2, you'll be doing 9 times. Ages 3 to 4, 10. Ages 5 to 7, 11. Ages 8 to 10, 12 times. Teenager, 13 times. And adult, you'll repeat it 14 times. And we're on row 2 already. Okay, so now you did this part of the glove. Now we're going to work on a thumb. So after you did your rows, start your next row as normal and do your regular count. So a full one in the first one. And then back loop single crochets all the way down to the slip stitches. My count's 8, but whatever your count is. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Now you should be at your slip stitch. So take your stitch marker out. Do your slip stitches, please. That's 1, 2, 3, and 4. Put my stitch marker back in. Now, if you're doing 1 to 2 years old, we're going to do 5 single crochets. If you're doing 3 to 4 years old, you're still 5 single crochets. Are you doing 5 to 7? That's 6 single crochets. 8 to 10 years old, 7 single crochets. Teenager, 8. Adult, 9. Okay, so I'm doing 1 to 2. So we're always working in the back loops. So I'm going to do 5. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now you're still working on the actual mitten part. You're not chaining away, okay? So now it's time to chain. If you're doing a 1 to 2 year old or a 3 to 4 year old, either of those two age brackets, I want you to chain 11. If you're doing a 5 to 7 year old, I want you to chain 13. If you're doing an 8 to 10 year old, chain 15. If you're doing a teenager, chain 19. An adult, chain 21. I'm doing a 1 to 2, so I'm going to chain 11. So here we go. Just chain. We're not working back into the mitten. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Now we go to the other end of our project. See where your stitch marker is to begin your slip stitches? I'm going to count up 5, but you do your count. So did you do 5? Did you do 6 here? Did you do 7, 8, or 9? I did 5. So that's the beginning of my slip stitch. So I'm going to count back 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right here. Okay. I am going to go all the way over there. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep. And do a back loop only, single crochet right into there. Okay. Now you're going to finish. So we skipped this whole center. That's the mitten part. Now you're just going to single crochet 3, 4, 5. Take your stitch marker out. Do my slip stitches. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Stitch marker back in and finish up this round. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so remember your last stitch is a full stitch. All right. All right. Okay, I had to look at my notes. Okay, chain 1 and turn. Do a full single crochet in the first one. And we're going to do this normal up to the slip stitches. Back loop only again. When you get to your slip stitches, take your stitch marker out. Do your normal slip stitches. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay. Now, we're going to do single crochets. If you're doing a 1 to 2 year old, we're going to do 9 single crochets. If you're doing a 3 to 4 year old, we're going to do 9 single crochets. If you're doing a 5 to 7 year old, you're going to do 11 single crochets. If you're doing an 8 to 10, you're going to do 13 single crochets. If you're doing a teen, I want you to do 16 single crochets, please. And if you're doing the adult, we're going to do 18. But just watch what I'm doing here. So I'm doing the child, I'm going to do 9. So I'm working the bottom here. This is 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, that's 5. Now we're going to work in a chain. Okay, 5. It's not the easiest to get in there. 6. 7, 8, and 9. After you do your counts, the next 3 stitches, that's the same for everybody, is going to be slip stitches. So don't do them too tight. 1, 2, and 3. And what I suggest is you put a stitch marker in that third one. Okay. Then you're going to do single crochet, the same number down here. Okay. And then you do your slip stitches. And then you just finish this row out. This row is counted as number 1, okay? Six, 7, and remember your last stitch is the full stitch. All right, now we're going to repeat this row going over the thumb. For 1 to 2 year old and 3 to 4 year old, you're going to do it 3 times. So we already did it once, so you have to do it 2 more times. For ages 5 to 7 and 8 to 10, 4 more times. We already did it once, so 3 more times. And for teenager and adult, 5 times. So since we already did it 4 more times. And then I'm going to meet you back. Okay, after you did your count of rows, what I did is you don't really need to keep the thumb stitch marker in. But what I did for my security is I took the stitch markers on the outside slip stitch areas. Excuse me. I put my stitch marker in the first slip stitch closest to each end. So there's my stitch marker. There's my 8 stitch marker. So when we're slip stitching this starting together, I'm making sure that I'm on the proper stitches as stitching, especially when I come up to the thumb. I hope that makes sense. So my edges were count of 8. So I counted down 8 and I put a stitch marker in the next one. I counted down 8 and I put a stitch marker in the next one. So now it should automatically want to close for you. And look at that. Aren't they adorable? This is like the best glove I've seen. All right, so now I folded it together. And again, as you can see, I did not cut my yarn. So now take your hook. I'm going to bring you in real close. I'm going to go through the very first stitch, the full first stitch. And I'm going to put on my loop and tighten it, okay? I'm going to bring it through and I'm going to chain 1. All right? So now we're going to work in back loops. So in your next stitch, back loop, and then the one across, back loop. Grab some yarn, bring it through, and you slip stitch. And this is exactly where working in the back humps on the first chain is going to come into play that I talked about, because now you're going to be able to see all your stitches. So each one, you're done at each stitch, each next one, put your hook in the back loops of each one, you bring yarn through, and you just slip stitch. So you're going to do that all the way around. Now, when you get to the thumb, you're going to stop here. That's just the way it is. Because if you try to slip stitch over or leave a big, you're going to feel it in the glove, and your kids' fingers can get caught in there, and you don't want no one getting hurt. So up here, and then you do down here and you cut off, and then you do this whole side. Same way as we started this. So you're just slip stitching it completely together. And then when it's all together, weave in your ends and turn it right side out. And then you'll have your glove. And then we're going to come back and I'm going to show you how to do, if you want to do the chain to hold these gloves together so they don't get lost. They're absolutely adorable though, aren't they? I mean, come on, look at these. They're all one piece. These are the best gloves. And see how stretchy that is? That I've seen around. Crocheted. I'm in all over these. And what's nice is you can do these from as little as 1-year-old all the way up to adult. All right, I'm going to meet you back. Okay, how did your mittens come out? Mine came out absolutely adorable. So now, option. This is absolutely 100% option. I'm going to do a flexible chain to hold each mitten, so if they pop off the kids' hands or they pull them off, they don't get lost. So the first thing you're going to do is I have chosen change hooks. Change hooks. I just wanted to go to a hook that didn't have the ergonomic. If I'm saying that wrong, I apologize. So first things first, leave yourself an extremely long tail. You're going to need it because we're working with both ends. Now, these really aren't needed for adults, but you know what? If you want to do it for the adults too, that's absolutely okay. So, but you do need a tail. And what I would suggest is measure the length from your wrist to the other wrist of the person these are being made for, and add maybe add an inch or two, just to that way if they're trying to pull them off, maybe an inch or two on each side, that way it doesn't rip. Okay, so you start with your normal slip knot, but now the tail end put towards your front, towards your body, towards you. The working yarn stays in the back. Okay, now the tail end, the part that has an end to it, you're going to take and you're going to wrap over top of your hook. The working yarn you wrap up and around, then you hold and you go through both. So the end, the tail that has the end, you wrap up and around, hold that. The working part, you bring it up and over, and then you grab and you go through both. That is all you're doing, is you wrap up and over, and the back the opposite way. So you just wrap and wrap. So you're using the tail and the working yarn. And the tail that has the end is the piece that you always wrap over first, and then the working yarn comes behind. This is why you need to leave yourself a very, very long tail, because you don't want to make all this and have to tear it out because you didn't give yourself enough of a tail. And then once you get in a rhythm, you keep on going, and you just keep doing this until you get to the desired length that you're requiring. Now, obviously, I already have one done. And what I did for the end that doesn't have the tail, I just cut some yarn and put it through. And what you want to do here is knot it. All right. But look at this beautiful chain. And why I chose this one is it has some flexibility in it, which is really nice. So then all you have to do is decide where you want your mittens hooked. Me personally, I'll take my hook through the wrist part, and what you do is you take one piece, one strand on one side, and then just go over just a little bit. Just make sure you're in a different stitch, because you don't want to be in the same stitches, and bring it through, and then you tie it. Tie it very strong, and then you cut your ends. Okay, that's one, and then we'll do that again on the other one. And again, make sure you're going in to different areas. Okay. So the hook that you choose to use to make the chain, it doesn't really matter with the size. I mean, I wouldn't go super large, but it doesn't matter. If you go very large, it's just going to make it really big, thick. And that's okay. Oh, I almost nipped my finger. At least it felt like I did. Anyway, there are your mittens. Let me zoom you out a little bit so you can see them. Look at that. Beautiful. These worked up gorgeous. Well, I want to say thank you for watching this video. And if you enjoyed this and all the other ones that we're doing, can you please hit that like and subscribe button down at the bottom? We greatly appreciate your support. And please come find us on Facebook under WIP for Work in Progress and Chain. Until our next video, guys, happy crocheting.